Hello everyone, welcome to the weekly Purple Penny coin and banknote news video. My name's Mark. I own and run, along with my wife Catherine, the Purple Penny. We're a small coin and banknote dealer in the northern suburbs of Adelaide. We've been doing these videos for about 4 years and the shop's been here for coming up to 5 years. So we try to do these videos every Monday at about 12 o'clock Adelaide time and talk about what's been going on in the world of coin and banknotes, obviously with a focus on Australia, given that we are in Australia. And we try to have a topic of the week, this being the last Monday of the month. We have been, for at least the last 6 or 7 months, having a live question and answer session. And people have pre-primed me with some questions, which I'll do my best to answer during the video. If you do have any questions that you want me to address, pop them into the comments when we get up to that section of the video, and I'll do my best to either answer them or at least speculate wildly about them. Just say a few hellos to everyone here. Hello Peter, Patrick, Tanya, another Peter, Jason, Flaneur, Ray, Greg, Gwen, Brett, John, Catherine, Lynn. Peter says he wants to see the doggy. The doggy isn't here, so last Monday, of course, we lost our last guide dog, Willa, who went off to be matched with a handler and become a working guide dog. We had 2 days off, and on Wednesday, a black boy by the name of Ace has entered our lives. He's been with us the last 4 or 5 days. It's good having a dog back. 2 days without a dog was too much, and Ace so far has proven to be a lovely boy. At some point, no doubt you'll see him here on the video, but he is black, so I'm not sure how much you'll see. Now, hello Michelle, Ted, Daryl, Susan, how you going? Have we got any questions here that people want me to answer straight away? No? Right, let's get into the news. Here we go. Let's do our weekly wrap-up of 35th anniversary set prices. Everyone, I believe, has got their sets now from the RAM EQL ballot, so there's a lot more of these sets on the market. Has that been reflected in the prices? Well, thanks to Peter Andrews for compiling that graph there from day one of release of the 35th anniversary sets last December to today. You can see right at the end there that the price has dropped a little bit. So, as we had sort of expected, once the extra sets got to customers, that the price would fall back a bit, which it certainly has. Catherine says, questions, Mark, when is my day off? You don't get a day off. You get a day off when I get a day off, Catherine. Sorry about that. Now, Peter was very gracious to supply this graph to us as well, which is... what have I done here? No, I've messed up here. I haven't put the right graph here. Peter did a graph of the 2022 $2 poppy, which was released in November 2022, and I don't have it available because I've messed up. But that has shown a steady decline as well, with the price of those dropping about 20% in the last 12 months, from about $225 down to about $175. And that's something that we've noticed here in the shop as well. We're not getting what we were getting for them. And Peter did go on to tell me that he has seen that pretty much across all of the $2 prices that he's checked over the last year, that they have shown a 20% drop pretty much across the board. Now, what will be interesting is to see what happens when the Mint releases their next $2 coloured roll. As you know, this week, last week I should say, there were 2 types of rolls released by the Mint. There was $2 rolls and 2 $2 rolls with the portrait of King Charles III on them. For the first time, the Mint released what they're calling premium and non-premium rolls, the premium rolls being head-tail and the non-premium being tail-tail or head-head. And they were not dealer exclusive rolls like the $2 rolls usually are. So if we think back to 2019 and 2020 when the Qantas rolls were released and the 2019 year set rolls were released, they weren't dealer exclusives either. So they were available through the EQL ballot. Most people seem to have managed to secure those through the EQL ballot, and certainly if you didn't secure them through the EQL ballot, then there are a lot of people who have had good luck securing them through the phone line, with the phone lines working. I think that the EQL ballot seems to be working quite well at the moment. Most people seem to be getting their hands on what they want, and that's a good thing by the Mint. But what it does mean, of course, is that speculators find it harder to get their hands on big quantities of product, so that ability that they have to drive the prices up in the few days after release has gone. Unless there are authorised dealers that aren't playing the game and selling them prior to release day. So it's a good thing from the Mint. What I will be interested to see is if they maintain coloured $2 rolls as dealer exclusives, or whether they're going to put that out through EQL as well. Because if they do put it out through EQL, I do feel like that will control the price on the secondary market. And because of that, maybe the rest of the $2 market will get dragged down with it. It'd be interesting to see anyway what happens. Now, last week no, it wasn't last week, it was the week before, we made a good sized purchase here in the shop. This came from a gentleman here in Adelaide that has a demolition company. His demolition company had bought a house outright, and we're demolishing the house and we're going to build other properties on it. And he found quite a hoard of banknotes and coins in the house. We bought the coins and the banknotes. There was a lot of stuff. I'll talk about the coins some other week once I've finished sorting through that. But you can see the notes there. They came in that big red tin, which is a Violactogen tin, which dates to sometime around about 1945. And in the tin were 222 George VI 10 shilling notes. And I'll just, here they are here, or a lot of them anyway. 222 10 shilling notes, so that's £111. And there were no Queen Elizabeth 10 shilling notes in there. So the latest notes were R15s, that's the Renix number, R15s, which were first released in 1952, and they were released until 1954 when the Queen Elizabeth 10 shillings came in. So, it's probably a fair guess that this hoard dates to around about 1953 and 54. A lot of the Coombs Wilson 1952 notes were in better condition, EF or better. So, they hadn't been in circulation for very long. And it was a wonderful opportunity to purchase that many notes in one go. Were there any star notes? Yes, there were 5 star notes in the hoard, which we were super pleased to see, and the person who sold them to us was super pleased to see as well. So it's a pretty unique opportunity to be able to buy something like that, and certainly gave me a bit of a rush. We are doing our best to document the hoard properly, so we will record all the serial numbers and grades and so on and so forth, and put them up online for posterity. And when we come time to distribute the notes, so sell them, they'll probably go out with some sort of certificate, and the certificate will have the serial number on there, so that you know that this has come from what Catherine has started calling the Milk Tin Hoard, which I think is a good name. We bought a few hoards of notes in the last 5 years, but they were 10 notes or 15 notes or 25 notes. I think we might have bought one that had 40 notes in it. Certainly not 222. So pretty exciting purchase there for us last week. Now, the next item in the news, Peter Andrews, who's watching today, he's the author of the Independent Coin News online magazine, which has been produced for I think 6 or 7 editions now. It's produced bi-monthly. I believe this month's edition, which is due for release in a few days, is going to be 80 plus pages. So if you are interested in a free online coin magazine written by one of Australia's most prominent numismatists, please get onto Facebook and do a search for Independent Coin News. Follow the Independent Coin News Facebook page, and when the next edition of the online magazine becomes available, you'll be able to download it and have a read of it. It is a good read. Last month's was excellent. I've seen a bit of the content for the next issue, so I'm looking forward to seeing the whole thing. Right, let's have a look at some of the questions here before we keep going. Taz says the only downfall of EQL is having separate transactions and paying multiple postage. Yep, I'm sure the Mint will get that sorted out though. It's unfortunate, but the Mint will certainly get that sorted out. I'm quite sure of it. Peter says he's been in 4 ballots and not won yet. Well, Peter, that means that you've got 5 times the chance of winning next time, so you can't keep losing forever. The way that the EQL ballot works is that each time you lose, your chances of winning the next time improve. Hello, Christala, how are you? Hello, Carolyn. Hello, Shirley. Flaneur is calling it the Richie Benno stash. I'm not sure why you would call it that. Thank you. Hello Peter, how are you? Hello Sean. And Gabrielle says, question, RAM, decimal and pre-decimal errors. I'll address that during the question and answer session if I get onto that. Oh yes, 222, yes. Okay, the Richie Benno hoard, 2 for 222, of course. I had forgotten my 12th man quotes there. Thank you for sharing that with us. Right, let's jump to the next item in the news. Some people in Greece have got in trouble in a city in Greece that is surrounded by ancient walls and has a number of 2,000-year-old buildings in it, which are all protected. A elderly gentleman had got wind of the fact that maybe the Germans in World War II had buried several thousand sovereigns under one of these ancient buildings in this particular city. He took it upon himself to get a metal detector and a pump and enlisted 5 men, and over the period of several nights they dug a very deep hole out the front of this ancient building, and in fact the hole was 24 metres deep, so that is a serious hole, looking for sovereigns that were supposedly buried during World War II. They didn't find any sovereigns. The Greek government found out what they were doing and stopped it. The elderly gentleman who was the ringleader behind this whole thing got sentenced to 4 years jail, and his 5 accomplices got 1 year suspended sentences. And the worst thing is that they never actually recovered any of the gold coins. And the other terrible thing that happened is they actually caused structural damage to the ancient building that they were excavating around. So if you are in countries such as Italy and Greece, you're not allowed to just dig wherever you like in the hope that you will find coins. Next item in the news, I did like this one. It was 2 Roman graves were excavated in Bulgaria. They were found very close to each other. One of the graves contained the skeletons of a man and woman that were perhaps in their late 40s and early 50s, and just under that grave was another grave of a small child aged perhaps between 1 and 2. The archaeologists theorised that perhaps the small child was their own and had passed away very young, and then they'd chosen to have their bodies buried on top of it. And if you look at your Roman history, you will know that the Romans did not value the life of small children. Perhaps it was because of the high mortality rate, but they actively discouraged mourning for children that didn't have teeth, so very small children, and perhaps in some regards didn't even regard them as humans at that point. So these people have gone out of their way to prepare a grave for their young child, or probably their young child, including some toys and children's jewellery in that child's grave. And there were also some flasks there that perhaps contained wine for mourners at the child's funeral. And there were also some little glass jars, which apparently they're called lacrimoles, and they're for burying of the tears of people that are at the funeral with the child, so they know how loved they were. What did the Romans think about burying things in graves? They did believe that if you put things in graves with people, then that would make those items available to them in the afterlife. The other thing the Romans used to do is place coins over the eyes of the dead person, and that was to pay the ferryman to take the soul across the river Styx and get them into Hades. The ferryman required payment to get across the river in Hades into the afterlife. One interesting thing that was also found in one of the graves was a medal, and you don't hear of many ancient Roman medals, but it's a medal of Caracalla, who was one of the emperors of Rome, and all the items in the graves dated to about 200 to 225 AD, and there were a number of coins that they could grade quite accurately as well. As I said, they were found in Bulgaria, which was the Roman province of Moesia, which you can see the name of there. So quite an interesting set of finds there, and perhaps looking back at the fact that parents back then, regardless of what the customs were, did love their children no matter what the age they were, and the care that these parents took with their child, and the fact that they chose to effectively be buried with the child later, 50 years later perhaps. The archaeologists are going to conduct DNA tests on the bones and just confirm that they were related. So yeah, quite an interesting find there. Sean says, I applied for RAM EQL for a $2 roll. No email by 11:30, so I called the RAM and ordered. Then I got an email saying successful later in the day. Now I'm wondering if my orders will be cancelled. Right, so EQL emails will come up to 24 hours, I believe, from the closure of the EQL ballot. So you do need to be patient. And will your order be cancelled? Probably not. I wouldn't have thought. Probably not. But you'll see, I guess. Glenn says, being in Bulgaria or Thrace, there could have been some cultural differences to those in Italy. Thank you, Glenn, for sharing that. And right, let's jump on to the topic of the day, which is question and answer session. Thank you to everyone who posed a question in the comments on the Facebook post that we put up earlier. What is a filler coin? Someone asked. A filler coin is a coin that you use to fill the space in a collection that you're unlikely to fill with a real coin. So the classic example in Australian coin collecting is the 1930 penny. 1930 pennies are worth $15,000 plus. For the average collector, or even the above average collector, the chances of owning one is very small. So people will put a filler coin in the 1930 spot, and that filler could be a 1930 penny from England. It could be an altered date 1930 penny. It could be a replica that you buy online. So that is what a filler coin is. Someone asked me what I thought about the RAM quantity versus quality. Look, I don't think there's any particular increase in the quality, increase in the quantity, or decrease in the quality of the Mint's product these days. They've had times over the last 40 years where they've produced heaps of stuff. They've had times over the last 40 years where they've produced great quality stuff. They've had times over the last 40 years where they've produced poorer quality stuff. Even, release to release here, because we see so many new releases and so much of each one, you do see that the production quality of some of their releases, even in the same year, is quite different to other releases. And in terms of quantity of product, certainly, there is a steady release schedule, but if you grab out your Renix and have a look from about, perhaps from about 1990 or 1991, you'll see that the Mint has fairly steadily released 5, 15, 20 different products every year. And, perhaps some years it's more, but certainly other years it's less. Here we are almost at the end of February, and we've still only had 3 releases this year. We had the portable press coin, which you have to go to Canberra to get, the rolls, which were released just last week, and then the release of the Change of Monarch set. So I don't feel like there's any particular change. I think if you look over the longer term, it's all pretty similar, and I know it is sort of fashionable to pile on the RAM and say they're releasing a whole pile of junk, but I don't feel like they are. Is there going to be a tooth fairy coin this year? Don't know. We do know sometimes in advance about what's coming up, but we are restricted from saying what is coming up. At the moment, we have no information about anything that's coming up. I'm not concealing anything. I don't have any secrets that I'm keeping from me. We don't know what's coming up next. Yes, there'll probably be a tooth fairy coin, just like there'll probably be baby sets and uncirculated year sets and proof sets. When they're coming, we have no idea. Susan, if you jump onto our Facebook page and have a look at the request for questions that I posted up last night, Susan McDornan had a picture of I think it was a 2-cent piece there, asking if it was an off-centre or a broad strike error. So a broad strike error is a coin that has been struck and did not engage with the collar die at all. I think everyone knows what the collar die is. The collar die is the round die that the coin blank sits in. When it's struck, it spreads out into the collar die, and that puts the edge reading on coins, if the coins have edge reading. If the collar die isn't in place because the collar die is movable, then the coin is struck and the flan or the planche of the coin spreads out and it's not constrained. If all the design elements are present on that coin and it's spread out, I would call it a broad strike. But as soon as some of the elements are missing, whether it be some of the design or the lettering, then I would call it an off-centre error. That's what I would call an off-centre and a broad strike. But that being said, if everyone chose to call off-centres broad strikes, I don't really think that's the end of the world. I don't buy into the whole you must call it this and you must call it that thing. Let's make coin collecting as welcoming and acceptable and accepting as possible, and not jump on people when they don't use terms the same way that you do. But Susan, I would call that coin that you posted up an off-centre. If someone called it a broad strike, I certainly wouldn't lose any sleep over it. Someone asked how long until we go cashless. Now, I do speak about this reasonably often. There were a couple of Scandinavian countries that attempted to go cashless and it failed, and they had to make cash acceptable again, because even though the decline in cash usage is undeniable, there is almost certainly a core of people who do not want to go cashless. Whether that's 5% of the population or 10% of the population, I don't know, but the government will get to a point where the amount of cash in circulation has become minimised, and I think that a government will not ever allow our society to become cashless, because the lessons are there from overseas that should be learned. But of course, regardless of what government's in power, they are quite within their rights to make the same mistakes as other governments have already made and learn from those. So I don't honestly think we'll ever go cashless. I think it will continue to decline somewhat, but it will reach a point where it won't go any further, because as I said, I feel like there is a hard core of the public who always want cash. Always will want cash. Certainly we're never going to stop accepting it in here. We love cash in our shop. Right, the next question was back up the comments here. Excuse me while I just scroll up and look for it. Gabriel, RAM, decimal and pre-decimal varieties and errors. Best recent top finds and new discoveries. Examples, Melbourne Mint, overdate, 23 RAM. Yeah, look, I don't know, Gabriel. I don't have the time these days to look at auctions and follow all of the Facebook groups. I used to have time, but unfortunately I no longer do. The most recent best discoveries, almost inevitably end up being publicised on one of the error coin groups or one of the buy sell groups or one of the question groups on Facebook, and then inevitably end up in auction, whether that be IAG or Roxbury's or Downies or Nobles or whoever it is. And of course, if the right people see it, like us, then it will get written about for ACR. If Peter Andrews sees it, he'll probably write about it for the Independent Coin newsletter. So, you know, how do you find out what the most recent discoveries are? You've got to look at all the information sources. There's no one place where you can go to learn about those things. Right, last question we had today was someone asking me to compare the US versus the Australian coin market. There's no doubt the US coin market is a lot different to the Australian coin market. Obviously, there's a lot more collectors. The market is a lot stronger, the market is a lot more liquid, and their coin series is a lot more diverse than the Australian coin series. Is it different to the Australian coin market? Well, I guess there's more of a focus on classic coinage over here than what there is here in Australia, but that being said, that could just be observer bias on my behalf, because I really just follow PCGS forums and things like that where they are collecting classic coinage as opposed to flipping mint product, whereas here in Australia I'm primarily looking at Facebook groups and things like that where people are more focused on modern mint product. So is the Australian market more focused on modern mint product? I feel like it might be, but as I said, it could just be observer bias because I follow Facebook mostly and that's what most people there collect, whereas pre-decimal stuff is primarily room auctions and things like that. Certainly here in the shop, any quality pre-decimal that we put up sells pretty quickly. The middling grade stuff and the common stuff doesn't sell, but you know what, that's no different to middling stuff in the decimal series. It doesn't sell, or it sells ever so slowly. Quality always sells quickly, whether that be decimal or pre-decimal. So while I feel like maybe the US market is more focused on classic coinage than the Australian market, it could just be because I only look at certain information sources. Certainly, as I said here in the shop, quality pre-decimal always sells quickly. So I hope that gives you my wildly speculative answer to that particular question, the person who asked about the difference between the US and Australian coin market. I think that's it. I think we're done with questions. I don't see any other questions here that I might have missed. Just excuse my silence here, my dead air. No, I think that's it. So as I have already said, please get onto Facebook and search for Independent Coin News, and you can get access to Peter Andrews' online coin magazine, Independent Coin News. I believe the next release is in the next day or two. Well worth a read. And as soon as we know about the next mint release, we're allowed to say, we'll tell you. Alright, that's it for now. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for the people who took the time to ask a question. As always, if you've got anything that you would like us to talk about in these videos, please send us an email, give us a phone call, send us a Facebook message. Put a comment up on YouTube if you're watching this video later, and we'll do our best to address them. So that's it for now. Happy collecting. Everyone stay safe. Bye for now, and we'll see you next time.